Alright, we should be live. This is Anon, and none of this is financial advice. I am not a financial professional. I should not. Alright. It's Friday night. We're gonna drink some scotch and talk about some stocks. And I need to log into something real quick. Let me go ahead and pull up a couple things and take a look at what we were doing today. Let's go to the 1 hour and address this little fun thing at the end. And get my sketch out. Hey man, have you thought about streaming on Twitch? Yeah, so I actually did, I do have it actually on here for the multi-streaming thing. I haven't ever used it because I didn't think anyone actually followed me on Twitch. So, but I do have it. I could stop the stream and then restart and see if it works. Do you want me to try that? I mean, I'm willing to give it a shot. You just let me know if it screws up with the, because I turned it off basically because it was getting reverb. It was like creating an echo. So what I'll do is, what's up, Liam? What's up, Dan K? Do you guys want me to try the Twitch thing? I mean, it's up to you. I don't know much about it, but what's up, Trey? Let me get my sketch. So you tell me there, Felix, if you want me to, if you want me to try this Twitch thing, I'll go ahead and turn it off. And yeah, I mean, I think that's how it works too. Earthium, I've never tried it. I turned it off because I was getting reverb. But I think I know how to do it now. So what it do? This is fine. Yeah, it's fine. Listen, we had some low volume days right here and just made it old fashioned. There you go. Thanks, Matt. Appreciate it. I mean, obviously I wish we got to finish over 450. I mean, that whale tried at the end of the day. You can tell. He said, let's just go get this over 450, and he almost got it. I think he actually was on Reddit talking about it. He said him and a couple of his buddies are starting to buy into Aterian. It sounds like they've got some money, and they thought that was a good price to buy at. So I still think we may have that spring area, which is why I loaded this up. I mean, people now were going, why'd you put this bracket in? And I said, well, that's where I could see us hitting that loading area. I think I made it a little bit too big, but like, I think it was like 4. Yeah, basically we'd bounce off this. We didn't bounce off this today, but I mean, we could go into obviously the next trading day and bounce off that, and then that's where I expect the next wave up to be. I thought this wave was going to go slightly higher, but oh, nice. He was talking about in the Discord. Yeah, I must have missed him. I was going to say, I talked to him on Reddit, but I was going to say, I'm glad he joined the Discord. That was cool. Let's see. This is not AMC 2.0. I get the DD and everything, but hedge funds have so much control. I can't see them running like this. Letting it run. It just seems like it is me. I see more. Just hold. Yeah, I mean, are you talking about what he said or what this whole thing is? The whole thing about this is, all right, so we went on to, just to show you, this is when we went on to 100% utilization. On this day right here, this is when we first hit the reg show, or no, this is when it would have been 5 days back from when reg show started. So if we are on day 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, so this would have been the 5 days, the start of the 5 days right here. So then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is the day that we started the reg show tick. They actually hit it on this day, and then we've been on reg show since this day. At this point, this is now FTD land all up in here. And what will be interesting is the end of the night. Yeah, he bought millions. He bought millions to pump today. Yeah, I mean, and he sounds like he's in this now. So we've got a couple whales that are starting to join us, which is some good vibes and good stuff. I know we have some people here that, obviously, have hundreds of thousands of shares, but now we have people that have millions of shares. So you think about they ran out of shares to borrow out back here. They've now done $1 billion in volume. We have like 400 something that just the numbers are kind of getting out of control, and that they don't have those millions of shares that he just bought. So when the FTDs kick in for the rest of the time, starting next week, we should get probably about excuse me, here-ish. So I would imagine towards the end of the month, like the 28th or 29th, they might push out the data. So that will give us a good snapshot of what happens here on the first run-up. We started reg show here, so the numbers will get even worse in early May when those the late April ones drop. So, but yeah, I just wanted to. Let's just see. Let me go back and just read through. All right, so people drinking some bourbons, some old fashions. Is ATER done? No, Hen. ATER is not done. ATER's just getting warmed up. ATER's going to go ahead and hit the spring area and then probably run back up for the next wave. Usually these things run in waves. So what you're seeing is this. They're letting it cool off on the RSI. They may let it get down into the mid 50s or low, maybe high 540s on the RSI, and then they'll push it back up in an aggressive spike, and it will go up in waves. And as soon as FTDs go, it will be interesting. So. Yeah, it was a week. We obviously started, up here for the week. So we had a bunch of excitement going in, and then this kind of, the problem is the volume. The volume just dropped off, and as soon as the volume dropped off, boom, we had this slump. So it's all algorithmic too. They basically spoofed it, and they also just walked it down because on low volume they gain control, complete control. So. But I mean, our Bollingers are opening up. It just, we're going to have another move up at some point, just because the FTDs, I'm imagining. So, since it didn't break 450 or 5, do you think the hedges will FTD? Yeah, they'll still, they're already failing to deliver. That's how you end up on the reg show. So, that they're on the FTD shit list right now. That's what the reg show is. So until they actually get off of that, they're gonna have problems. So all right, then it said whole thing. Sorry, anyone see GameStop shorts returned a lot of shares? Okay, did it go up in price? I didn't watch GameStop today. I was too busy with Aterian. That's GME. Doesn't look like they went up. Yeah, down 2%, but they returned a whole bunch of shares. Interesting. Okay. I do own GameStop, obviously, also, but all right. What's going on, Gators? What's going on? Hi, Quok. That guy bought 1 million. Yeah, I mean that's gonna pump people up. Um, yeah, it doesn't. Another whale bought. Yeah, whale bought at the end of the day. He bought also in the beginning of yesterday, I think. I think he entered a large position in the morning at like 450. So then he bought this dip at the end of the day. Nothing like good DD and drinks on a long weekend. Or after a long week, yeah. All right, so when numbers come out, long hedge, you smell blood. Yeah, most likely. My position took a 30K swing. Yeah, yeah. I was gonna say other people took an even bigger swing. So, I mean, the guy has 1 million shares. I mean, even just like a 20-cent drop, that's pretty significant when you have 1 million shares. So, with the alleged naked shorting of ATER, how much dilution would be removed if they were returned? I don't think you're using that correct. It's not dilution for the naked shares. Like it just they'd have to wait. You need to buy equivalent. Yeah. So basically, all those nakeds, if there are nakeds on this, I mean, obviously, they've been accused in the past of naked shorting Aterian. So my expectation would be, sometimes where there's smoke, there's fire. Well, there's definitely smoke here. This is a very similar thing that happened last time that they were on Reg Show, that there were shares that just magically appeared and nobody could figure out where they came from. And so, but they would technically, if they got margin called, they would have to close all of them. So that's not really dilution so much as it is they would have to literally buy whatever they shorted, and even the ones that weren't on the books, so to speak. So when do you expect the run up again? Like, I mean, so it's hard to tell. Like at this point right now, it's just FTDs are gonna play a factor because we need to find out how many of them there are. And my guess is they're growing. So we may not see like huge numbers in the beginning, but as long as the numbers seem to be getting bigger and bigger, that's what's going to be interesting to me, because I think the really telling ones will be really in May, and that's why I think those May 20th options are going to be very interesting, because it seems like you've got a catalyst here on May 5th. May 5th is their earnings. So it should be around that earnings call. So, what happens then if there are tons and tons of things and all of a sudden maybe there's a beat? If there's a beat on the earnings and institutions start buying in again, but there's no shares, that would be interesting. Or, they're going to short on earnings no matter what. They could have the greatest earnings ever, and shorts are still going to try to drop the price because they're going to find some reason, and then they'll write articles about why Aterian's not going anywhere, and they just missed on all these earnings or these key metrics, and they'll find a reason why. But like they have to explain this stuff. So, all right, let's see. There's going to be another run up because basically all the stuff we've read is basically it's going to go up in a wave. It'll come back down and then it'll go back up to probably like $7-8. There's gaps up there to fill also, so I expect that to be the next move. Is we'll go down into this like loading zone and then pop back up at some point pretty hard. Just maybe even on FTDs or whatever it is, but yeah. So we do need to make a video informing everybody options and how to buy them and what are the ones. So yeah, like it was a little frustrating this morning because like I felt like a lot of people were. I know people were just trying to help, but the problem is when like there's multiple people talking and trying to explain something, it just gets lost in the like kind of clutter of everything. So I was trying to get people to like stop for a second so I could explain this, and then I tried jumping on voice chat, and I guess my audio was cutting in and out, so that was also frustrating. And then like I'm just like I just need to be able to tell people how this works, because like these guys were literally stacking up like thousands upon thousands of out of the money puts, and then like it was happening live, and I'm like, I don't think people understand why the price is going down, and we're probably like I didn't have a DD written, and I'm like need to be able, like, that's what would have been really nice if I was able to, like, live stream and explain this to people so they could, like, chime in and be like, oh, okay, I understand what's going on. Like, people are just like, why are we going down? Like, it doesn't make sense. And I'm like, it does if you're watching what I'm watching, which was, they were doing that on purpose. They were creating basically a reverse gamma rent to basically keep it down here so they could just keep stacking 450s on and keep the price suppressed. Like, that's how they kept the stock down all day. And then the whales at the end of the day, obviously, they helped, bringing the stock price back up to at least 6% down. But, like, I think at one point we were like, 12% down or maybe even more. I mean, we should be on SSR and SSR on Monday, but yeah, we do need to probably go over options pretty in depth. Does volume matter with dark pools taking so much of the daily volume? And do you know any rules or anything to stop the dark pool abuse? So here's the deal, right? Let me just pull over something for you guys. So, like, if you go to here, right? So basically 64% of the, like, daily volume, which was about, like, almost 10 million shares, went off exchange. And what that means is they were paired up and then shuffled off. So 64%, and this is always almost retail. So they started... The point of dark pools was basically to allow big corporation or big, just the big guys, the ability not to spook the market. What it's turned into, though, is they're hiding retail's trades and pairing them off so they don't actually have any impact on the market. So the only people that get to play in the market are actually the big guys. So remember when GameStop, everybody was like buying. None of that was actually hidden the lit exchange. The reason why the GameStop was going up and down was because other hedge funds were actually squeezing GameStop, and then the FTDs were mounting up, and then also the T plus threes. That's why they would have these days where there were huge spikes, and so that's what like when you buy your shares. Yes, eventually they do count towards stuff, but it's not going to count right away. Like the day you're buying it, unless you're routing through IEX or like a lit exchange. And that's the thing. Most retailer traders aren't like informed enough to know that like the only way your shares are going to actually show up on the market when you buy. So like say you wanted to buy 10,000 shares, right? If you're not routing through IEX or like a fair lit exchange, none of those shares are going to end up actually hitting the market. So that's what you guys, you have to realize that like, yeah, so your stuff eventually does become a T plus 3, so there should be buying pressure at some point in the next, like, basically 3-4 days. But it's like, it's not helping at the time, and that's part of the problem. And the other thing is, like, when people were like, oh, I'm going to exercise my options in the morning to, like, help, like, the cause, it's like, that's not how that actually works. As soon as you sell your options, they just become a T plus 2, which means that instantly the market maker now can de-hedge, and that actually takes buying pressure away. So, like, or it takes at least the ability to, like, keep that hedged all day long. So, like, that's why it's a little frustrating, because, like, I feel like retail half the time doesn't quite, like, they've got a bunch of, like, concepts down, but they don't have, like, the actual details down. So they're doing things that are, like, close to being right, but they're not actually right. And so, yeah. Are you saying that when you're selling the puts bullish? Yes. I've only bought options, never sold. So, yeah. So basically, you have to think about this. And there's probably like a bunch of, you can just type in probably like sell puts, and a bunch of videos will come up. There are probably people way smarter than me. But essentially what ends up happening is when you sell a put, they instantly will go ahead and you have a negative credit in your account. And what you've promised to do is buy those shares if the stock price goes below a certain like strike. So if today I wanted to buy, for example, a $4, I'm going to sell a $4 cash secured put. That means I have to have at least $4. In this case, it would be like $400, right? If I was doing a $4 cash secured put. So I have to have $400 in my account. And they might give me, today, because it was a 0 day, they might have given me like 4 cents for it, which, would be like $4. Like, not a whole lot of money on that. But if, say, for example, you sell it for next week, if you sell a $4 for next week, you might have gotten like 50 cents per contract, which, that would have been like $50. So that stuff can add up, especially if you're long a stock. And if you like, if you, the reason why people do those is because, all right, so here's what happens, right? So today we if I bought a $4 put, or sorry, if I sold the $4 put, what would ended up happening is it didn't go underneath $4. So technically I would have just kept the premium and they probably wouldn't have issued me the shares. So I'm able to take that extra money and then use it for something else. Like, so if I bought like 500, of those, sold puts, you're fine buying the stock anyway. So if it falls below those prices, you bought it and it's fine, and you keep the premium. And if you don't get the shares issued to you, you still just keep the premium. So again, that can buy you more shares down the line. So it's an extra way of making some income on a stock that you like and you want to go up, but you're fine buying it if it doesn't go up. So that's kind of how it works. You basically get paid money to take on that risk. What time does your recap stream typically start? Usually it's much earlier. I apologize. I was going to say I was talking to my wife, and then she wanted to watch like some, like Love is Blind or something, and I didn't want to do that, so I came down here to talk to you guys. But yeah, I was at least with her for a while, and all right, let's see. But yeah, it normally starts, I believe, at like 8:30 or 9 during the week. But today's a weekend. I needed to hang out with the wife a little bit and talk to her. So yeah, we got a great little setup brewing with the earnings, FTDs, T plus 35s, making its way into early April. The Battle Gator May is upon, yep, for the lizard brains. Thoughts on BBBY? Yeah, so I actually had leaps on BBBY, and I mean, it's another stock that was heavily shorted. It's in this meme basket, and it tends to run when GameStop runs, which is interesting, and that's why Ryan Cohen, I think, bought into them, because I think he understands how all this works, or at least he has people that work for him in his hedge, because he basically has a hedge fund that does all his like private equity like trading and stuff like that for him. Because I mean, when he sold Chewy, he made like $1 billion, and he basically hired a bunch of really smart people to work for him. And I think they kind of explained to him what was going on. So when he entered GameStop, he had a good idea what was going on, and I think they kind of were like, "Listen, like you throw your weight around, you're going to be super rich." And of course, when he bought his shares, I think they were like $10 a share or something like that. And obviously now GameStop's like at $150. So even if when it's not like $400 a share, he still made out pretty damn well. So yeah, with BBBY, like I would take a flyer on them, as far as like, oops, that's Best Buy. I need one more B. Sorry. Why? Yeah, so I mean, like, they're choppy, and they're going to spike when, let's see. So this was, where's all the meme stuff? So this was it, right? So they were down here chilling at like 18, and then they ran up to 53. And then you had another spike. And I bet you this correlates when memes are spiking. And then they had another one. So if you look at where the volume spikes are, there, that has to do with covering and like, or at least like they're rolling over things to keep this all under wraps. But if you look on the RSI, it's starting to curl up. And if you look at all these spikes, you'll see sharp turns up. Like here's where the volume spikes again, sharp turns up. Well, it looks like you're getting another sharp turn up. So that would be my thought, is it looks like it's coming up right now. The MACD is about, it's not crossed over yet, but it looks like it's going to be crossing over the next couple of days. So you might have like around the 27th or 28th, or maybe sooner than that, maybe like the 26th would be like, you know, it might start curling up and then it might run up because it's already crossed over on the stochastic. So that's what I would say about BBBY. Let me go back to Aterian though, because this is mainly a Aterian chat. So I'll answer some stuff here and there about other stocks, but all right, May 9th, absolutely last squeeze. Blah, 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 blah. Let's see. Okay, I think I've got it. So May 9th is absolute latest for squeeze to begin. Ramp go back up. He's asking a question. That's when the T35 for the original 30 for the April pump. Yeah, I mean, so like it's all kind of lining up prior to that May 20th. That's why I think something major is going to happen before then. Just, you know, they're going to kick the can as long as they can. The problem is with the float this size, with a, you know, retail's seemingly hanging on. Like, we're not like massively dumping off. You know, if we can pull up, let's see. Like, yeah, they've shaken the tree, and there's going to be some people that sold off. But if you look overall, like, we're still pretty much holding on. The money flow and the OBV are still pretty high. It's not like we're greatly slumping down like this. Like, we're still holding on right now. So, like, and you can tell, like, once we cross over onto this side, you know, that's when things went to shit. They're starting to improve. And so what I expect is another, you know, like I said, we're going to have at least one little more push. If they're going to try at least to push down into this spring area, and then it'll pop up again. I mean, you can tell things are crossing over. But it probably won't happen until maybe it will happen, let's see. It's probably going to be a weird week next week. So I would expect it to kind of dip into this area, maybe there by like Wednesday or Thursday, and then start curling up. And then the real action would happen in like probably beginning of May around earnings. So, I mean, that just, you know, yeah, the 9th would be interesting because we should get at least the FTD data. Or no, it's around the 15th that we get the FTD data. So, like, right before that 20th expiration, we're going to get the FTD data from late April, which is going to be probably very high. So, you know, can they last that long? Maybe. I don't know. But, you know, it is what it is. I hope a whale pulls a Ryan Cohen and slaps the ass in small batches on the IEX. GameStop went up 35% that day. Yeah. I mean, it would be very nice to see that kind of thing. Someone said 100K shares. Yeah, and you're not the only one, Daddy Powder. There's a lot of people that have over 100K shares, and if you start adding that up in our Discord, I mean, we've got at least a couple million in the Discord alone. So shares that shouldn't exist make the float artificially higher. I guess what I'm trying to say is with dilution, is that the essence of the share? Yeah, so I mean, they've lowered the price artificially with the shares that didn't exist. What happens is when those close, they have to buy them back at some point, and so technically they would actually send the price much higher because if no one's got those shares, because they're all naked and, you know, they're all, like, for example, like, all those shares aren't real. At some point, like, you don't have to close them. They can keep them open for years. I mean, look at GameStop. They probably have tons of, you know, floating once into options chains, and they just kick the can down the road. But, like, they go through spikes where all that stuff kind of piles up, and then they have a low run up, and then that's how you know it's still ongoing. Like, they do this stuff all the time. But as long as the stock price is higher, that's the only thing, you know, that ends up being important. So, but you said, yeah, so the shares shouldn't make it, the shares that shouldn't exist make the float artificially higher. I understand what you're saying. I think when you say that though, it basically makes the share price lower artificially though, not so much the float. That's what I'd say. Yeah, because they don't exist technically on the books, but the share price has moved down because of them usually. So it actually affects the price more than it does the actual. But it technically is still on the books. They have to do it like you can't like every transaction is logged. So like that's why the numbers don't match though. Remember I told you guys I found like volume discrepancies and like it's because there's shares out there that were probably not located, and when you do that, those become FTDs. And all right, let's see. Not traditional dilution. Will it crash down the same last run like it did like with the 7 spike? If we go back to the last one, right? Yeah, I mean, it didn't do it in the same day. We started that day, we ended up here, and then on this day we went to 16, and then the low point it looks like was 10. So, you know, and this one didn't crash the same day either. It got bled off on low volume. Because you can see, basically, this was the only day that they really had that huge amount of volume, like this candle right here. They had a huge amount of volume, and then volume was still decent here, and then it died off. And look, anytime the volume dies off, guys, you're going to get manipulation because they'll spoof, they'll bit slam, they'll short, they'll do whatever it takes. Because on low volume, they can bleed it down. As long as when you have volume, it makes it so much harder to fake the funk and keep the price down. I think the second pump either launches us into the squeeze or it's beaten back days before the dam breaks. Yeah, I mean, it's very possible. Depends on the reason for the next run up, methinks. Yeah, I mean, it could be a lot of different catalysts, but at this point right now, we can't really speculate, but I expect us to go up, hit that, spring area and then take the next leg up. A perfect day to shop, just threw it on the credit card. Hardly got any real sellers. Working those options. Money market. Yeah, I mean, like, it was a little dirty what they did. But, I mean, it's legal. You can buy puts. I was just shocked how cheap they made them. The market maker made those really, really conveniently cheap for them. Normally, puts are more expensive than calls. That is, like, the hands down typical thing, and those puts were dirt cheap. Like they were like pennies on the dollar, dirt cheap. So they hooked somebody up to make sure that they could buy lots of those and put tremendous, because they didn't want it to run. If it ran, then they would be out of max pain again, and they got their max pain. They got it under 450, which was their max pain, and really they didn't want to finish over. I told you guys yesterday on the live stream, like when I pulled up that chart, I said they're going to shoot for under 450, and that's what they did, and they got it. They usually don't lose, but the last couple weeks, because we've had so much volume on those Fridays, it actually was good. This Friday, it's like, we had the lowest volume we've had since, basically these 2 days and the lull in between. So, yeah, and SSR does not do anything. The amount of fives, so those ones were open before they opened all the other chains. So they only had like 255, 750, 10s. So those were the only ones you could buy. So that's why those numbers are higher there, Joe, on the options chains. So Aterian for the 20th, the 255s, 750, and the 10s were the only ones you could buy. Now that they've opened up the rest of the chain, that's why those numbers are more significant than everything else, because for months all they had was those particular options. No way that retail put all those puts on. Yeah, I mean, honestly, market makers had the most incentive to make sure the price was down. So, and I was a bit confused with the volume versus OI for those puts, because I saw 8K volume but only 23 in. So open interest is what was there before, at the settlement of the day before. Volume is the daily, so they actually don't combine those until the end of the day. and then you figure out what was bought, what was closed, and all that stuff. Which broker routes correctly these days? Like if you use TD Ameritrade, you can select. If you have to go directly to their trade screen, and then once you go to their trade screen, you have to select which brokerage you, or not brokerage, but which routing you want. So like I always choose IEX because it hits the exchange. Though sometimes I tell you still, like I put it on IEX, and I don't know if there's like a rule that like if your order hasn't gone through us by a certain amount of time, it just reroutes it to something else. But yeah, if you can find, I don't know what country you're in, but I was gonna say like I know TD Ameritrade you can select, and there's a couple other ones that you can select, which let's see. The biggest frustration was the new ATER investors not understanding options and the lack of info detracting from the bigger picture. Yeah, Tanner, I agree. I mean, it is frustrating when people, well, this is a pump and dump. I'm like, it's not. But you guys, you're so used to seeing pump and dumps that you don't know the real thing when it actually is sitting there smacking you in your face. Okay, he's back. Shameful's back from the beer run. Did you miss much? Nah, not much. How do you know this guy ain't hired by the hedges to get poor folks to invest in this? Well, I was going to say I am also, one of you guys as far as like if I was from a hedge fund, number one, I have no affiliation with any sort of financial institution. Like I'm just a dad who invests in stocks. Like all these guys have been hanging out with me for months, and I didn't do the YouTube thing until recently, and the only reason I did it was people were like really pushing me to do it, and they're like, "Listen, like we don't have a voice representing us, and we want you to do it." And I was like, "Fine." So I came on here, and I've been doing that. But yeah, Mufasta, I have nothing to do with any sort of investment organization or any financial institutions. If you sell puts, you have to have the funds to cover those shares. At least that's that's called a cash secure put. And so when you sell a cash secure put, you have to have the funds to cover those, or else it's considered naked. Some brokerages will let you do that if you have enough capital, but I do not recommend doing that. You always want to make sure that you have enough capital to cover those, or you shouldn't be playing with them. If you start doing naked stuff, which is obviously when you don't have the funds to cover those things, and they just allow you to do that on like margin, I do not recommend that, because that's how you blow up an account really quick. And none of this is financial advice, but I'm just telling you right now. Yeah, so Mufasa, I was going to say I am nothing to do with it. Most of these people on here have known me a long time, because I've been with Aterian since way back when, and I went through all the bleeding. So if I was pumping, I did a really bad job pumping, because I went through all this down bleeding with everyone else. So, yeah, just throwing that out there. But I've been watching the stock for a long time, and I started noticing things that were off with it. And so that's when I started really kind of looking at the DD and starting to go, all right, I think I understand what's going on now, and I think I can write a better version of this, because essentially what ended up happening was these guys just got bled out. And my issue was once they went under, I think this point right here, when we went below 245, that's when I was like, something's absolutely wrong with this, because you shouldn't go over current assets unless you're liquidating a company. So, trying to work on something and having your data would help. We don't have 5,000 toddlers yet, but yeah. Let's see. We were just talking about the 450 puts from today. Most retail does not up. Yeah, I mean, the out of the money ones are lotto tickets, and like I played one, and it went sideways, and it was a bad thing, and it cost me money, cost my friend money, and now I've got to make sure I do right by him. But yeah, like that's the danger. I was just gonna swing it. I was just gonna swing a 750, and it was about to be in the money at that 720 mark. I was profitable on that trade, and it
went sideways, and it went down really quick. And then I was like, okay, well, I'll catch it on the next spike, and the next spike never came. It just bled, and then those options went, they went worthless, and that's not a good feeling. And knowing that at one point they were green, that's a really bad feeling. So, but yeah, that's the danger of out of the money options, and that's the danger, with just options in general, is that when you have a theta element, and the theta's, especially a weekly, that's going against you, and those ones are super dangerous. If you don't trade them right, you can absolutely get burned, and I got burned, and it's not a good feeling. Yeah, so I mean, you can be pretty decent at this stuff and still mess up. Let's see. Do puts get de-hedged like T+2 spring? Yeah, so if you sell a put, you still the market maker basically has to hedge. So if, say for example, you were buying 450 puts, or you're selling 450 puts for today, right? Even though maybe you did that when it was 420, right? When we were sitting there at 420 and you sold a 450 put, that's a pain in the ass to the market maker, because they now have to decide whether they're going to push the stock up above. If there was like a ton of like 450 puts, the market maker has to decide, okay, do I go ahead and, like hedge these? Because obviously I'm going to have, if we keep the stock price down here at, 420, 430s, I'm going to have to deliver all these shares. But if I push this up, then the stock price is going to be up, and then I have to account for all the calls. So it makes like a pain in the ass situation for them, that they either have to choose, because they then have to deliver your shares too, because you sold the put, and if you sold a 450 put, and the stock price is 339 now, they owe you shares that you're supposed to get assigned by Tuesday of next week. So like, it's like a dual-edged sword. Like, yeah, you could lose a little bit of money, but if the stock price goes up because all these people did that, then now they owe all these shares, and now they have 2 days to go find all those shares, because the shares are very hard to find right now. So I understand why some people were talking about getting 450 options, because that's the dilemma they put the market maker in. They either have to hedge their stuff, or they have to push the stock price higher, but then the calls get hedged. So they pay you a premium to get the key, but if it closes into the money, you have to buy that's how it works. Acid. The fact that they sold puts today for a penny is sketchy. I mean, it's a 0 day to expiry, but yeah, some of the ones were very, very cheap. Like, they were selling them for 4 cents, but if you looked on the call side, those were like $1 or something. So yeah, they made sure that those were very affordable for whoever was buying those puts. YouTubers that got on the ATER bandwagon are clung to play it dead and the volume gone. They're all day traders. They're not looking at the big picture. They're Giancarlo. Like, the whole thing is this: like, none of them wrote the thesis that essentially that there are not enough shares. That's something that we came up with based off the actual numbers and tracking everything. So those guys are only looking at this. They're just going, okay, well, the volume died off right here, so the play's over. As a day trader, yeah, sure. I mean, but like, if you're looking at the big picture, which most of those day traders never do, they never have enough time, because they're only their job is basically to make money that day. And if there's no volume, there's no money, because there's going to be bleeding on the most part of algorithms. And that's what we usually get. No volume, you get pushed down. That's just how it works. That's why Tesla, who has tons of volume, usually ends up going up and down, but they actually like, they'll move, and it's at least there's volume behind those trades. When you start when you have good volume, then we had a little lull, but we were still moving up. But we had a lot of buying here, and then the last couple of days, just the volume kept going lower and lower, and boom, we are where we are now. But yeah, I was going to say, they can call it dead all they want. They're also not researching the stock. They're kind of, you can tell, like, half them kind of like half read my DD, and they came up with some theories of it, and then they just moved on. And they'll probably be back on it when volume picks up again. So like if next week, by like Wednesday next week, all of a sudden we have another $100 million candle, they might dive back into it and be like, yeah, well, the ATER's moving again today, so we entered our position at 565, and it's like, well, yeah, I mean, you guys are the ones that come in and out, and that's there's nothing wrong with it. It's just that's not what I'm trying to explain to people. I'm trying to explain to them that it doesn't really make sense that we ran out of, it was really hard to locate shares back here, and now we've traded 1 billion shares since that time. Like, something's wrong with that picture. Any chance the SI will go down without the price going up? I mean, that can happen at times. It really depends on where they're able to cover at. And then you also have to remember there's going to be new people entering. So, like, if the stock price, for example, goes up, and then they re-short it down, the SI will change, but they're now new shorts. It doesn't have to be like the old. Some shorts will get out, some shorts get in. So it's not like a perfect science, but typically the reason why the SI would go down with the price going up, most of the time that people see that and they don't understand it, it's because of dilution, atomic ape. And I know that confuses the hell out of people, but like it's because the float's growing. So like your SI is actually going down naturally because the float is actually changing. So people in the past were like, I don't understand, like, how could these guys be shorting so much, but the price goes down, and they didn't understand that, like, GameStop was actively diluting. They didn't understand that AMC was actively diluting. And so they're yelling corruption, but really all that's happening is they're increasing the float. So that means that the bigger the float gets, the less SI there is. So, yeah. Okay, let's see. Hey, Goot. Good evening. I do this to average down. I sell puts with a strike under the average, and then I either keep the premium or go over, and get the shares. That's a very smart way of investing there. I ate the acid. All right. On a happier topic, still thinking that we're hitting that spring before earnings. Yeah, I mean, it could either be the week of earnings or the week before. It doesn't. At this point, it's just like, when do they feel like making the move? Because they just keep shorting it. So, I mean, at some point, like, they're going to do their best to just keep this in a downtrend and kind of keep going. And at some point, I think the buying pressure comes back. So that's just, what I see. What do I know, though, right? All right. So stacking more calls for May 20th, a good idea. I mean, once again, not financial advice. You can do whatever you want. But like, yeah, I mean, I have positions for May 20th also. I've got 350 calls. I've got some $5 calls. So that's all I'm willing to mess around with right now, because I feel like those ones are very much near the money, or in the money. But yeah, I'm not playing far out of the money options on those. But the ones you mentioned, I think, were a little bit lower, right? Where's yours? Stacking. No, you just said stacking. So yeah, I think there's 1.6 million at 5. Yeah, I mean, there's a good amount there. ATER is both a squeeze play and value play. That's correct there, Cornfield. Smart trader would take a fair amount of squeeze profit and stay for the bullish value. Yeah, I mean, you definitely could do that too. Like, Aterian could raise a ton of money also. At some point, like, if they really do run, the CEO would be selling out to issue an ATM to start taking some cash in, because it could be good for the company long term. So, Dan said that one bad ad has 1.3 million himself. Yeah, I did see the screenshot, and he did say that he was going to buy at the end of the day, and it did go up. So, you figure you take that out of the float already. We could probably do some math real quick, and like, I know multiple people that have like 200K, 300K, 100K, 100K. Like, if you add those up, that's probably another 2 million. And then if you figure there's at least a couple, there's a couple people that have 100K positions. One of them was in here earlier and said he had 100K. See, those start adding up too, and then like even like the smaller ones that are like, I've got 50K, I got 80K, like those 20Ks, they add up, and we've got at least like 12,000 people now in just an ATER stock, and then you've got stock Twitch that has like 25 or 30,000 people following Aterian. You got the remainder of what was left of the short squeeze guys. I mean, that one hurt. I mean, I think this was the interesting thing. We were still able to post, and I think we lost the ability to post on this day, which was yesterday or Thursday, right? I think that's when all shit kind of broke loose, and that's one of our reddest days because the DD, I was getting like 100,000 views, and honestly, like, or maybe it was a high amount of views. And then since I've been posting just a ATER stock, it's much reduced on the amount of eyes that are seeing it. So that did hurt having that sub taken down, because I felt like we had a bigger voice and we were doing a lot of really like growing during that time. And then as soon as we kind of took that out, it's been going down. So all right, is it safer to buy June or later? Yeah, I mean, it's always safer, but it doesn't always actually help the options chains. It's better for you as far as like if you were trying to put pressure on market makers, then they don't have to hedge those for a while then. So you're not adding a ton of buying pressure. But if you wanted to be safe, then yeah, anything that has more theta is very safe. Not financial advice, obviously, but I'll save Anon from watching Love is Blind with a Wife. In summary, it is what it is, and they're in trouble. So love is blind or love isn't blind? Hedge funds are in trouble, and on this merge. I mean, these guys are in trouble. All right, in what condition company can require share count? So a vote for example, like Dilution, over 20% would require a shareholder vote. There's probably other things that they could vote on, like if they wanted to vote on board members or stuff like that, that would be something that they would put out a proxy for. So that would be my anticipation. That would be the things that they could, possibly issue a vote. Because I know GameStop did something like that. They had I think a new board member, or maybe it was to confirm the new CEO. But they didn't release the share count during that. And AMC had something very similar, and they didn't release the share count. But they just said like 90% of the company was owned by retail. I would imagine we probably own 90 to 100% of this company, and then there's an additional 10% or whatever it is that if like hedge funds and institutions, and the problem is we own so much of this company. All right, let's see. $2 to $5 squeeze companies that result in GameStop with a floor of where? Do you think ATER is this type of potential? So yeah, Idaho, Washington real estate. I think honestly, what will end up happening is this. I think that is a very rare situation, but it's something that the more I keep looking at this play, it keeps reminding me of GameStop. And I know that's like blasphemy to hear from other apes, and I was there very early on. I was there in like 2017, but like it's starting to feel very much like that. And it's just nostalgia, but like that, like there's weird stuff going, like an entire subreddit went down, and it was like, yeah, I'm sure it was just coincidence, but like we started posting there, and then within like 2 weeks it went down, and like that just, something about that seems weird. And I remember when GME was taken down by like, I think one of the mods was letting their like 14-year-old kid like moderate people who had like literally like hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars on the line, and they were like doing stupid crap, and that sub like got taken down, and then Super Snock was born, and I went over and I was like, I guess we're over here now. and then I stayed part of both communities. But like, that's what happens when you do something stupid, like like a teenager moderate, like adults who have like hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars invested in a company, and then they're just doing whatever they feel like. It's not a good recipe. So, but yeah, I think they might. I mean, Aterian's got at least a chance of changing their entire company around, because no matter what happens on this, as long as they get up into this area and maybe hit those 15 warrants or even hit the 25 warrants, then you're starting to really look at like they could raise some cash. If they could raise some cash, this company would be just fine, because the biggest problem for them is they haven't had access to a lot of cash. If they could get access to a lot of cash, they could probably buy their way into profitability and like a better EBITDA. So, were the bots selling at $7? Yeah, and the bots came in here and told us to sell at 7. The stock ran right to a little bit over 7, and then they just dropped it. And like that it just seems so coincidental. And then we haven't seen that many bots, at least, or maybe we just banned them all. But like we haven't seen as many bots in the last couple of days, because they're trying to get it out there that the play's over. YouTubers are telling everyone that the play's over. Everyone but me, apparently. But yeah, I'm telling you right now that all it's going to take is some volume, and this thing's going to be popping right back up. So, everyone like the stream right now. Sorry. Yeah, so I mean, here's the issue. We're gonna, my goal is going to be to try to help retail investors understand a little bit more than they do, and that I want people to be able to read an option chain and know where max pain is, and I want them to know why when I look at stuff, like where I see things and how I see this stuff. It's not like rocket science. It's really not. And like the more I can teach people to do this, the better off everyone is, because when you have multiple people that know what they're looking for, and people catch different things. Like, I'm not perfect. I miss stuff all the time. And like I've luckily got amazing people in our group that catch things, like I am better because there's other people that are helping me in this group. Like if I was doing all this stuff on my own, I'd probably make tons of mistakes and nobody would call me out on it because I was trading by myself. And with this, you at least have a good bunch of people to talk to and say, okay, well, I read through this, section of the filing, and I don't quite understand it. And you might have a lawyer that's in your group and go, yeah, I could help you with that, and they can help you bust out some legalese. And like, I'm gonna be honest, like there are warrants sometimes that are so complex and convoluted that like it takes like forever to unravel them and figure out what the hell they actually mean, because they do that on purpose. Like half the time they're gonna have different clauses in there, and yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, today was a bad day on the market, and we ended up only 6% down. So, and I know it was down before that, but you can tell like retail's buying because they're trying to push up these bottom wicks. So like retail's still around, or at least Toots or somebody's buying in. So, all right, Ariel says, and this time the setup is different than the other 2 runs. Yeah, and the other thing that I was kind of pointing out, I think yesterday, was I feel like somebody trapped these shorts. Just look at like this run up, which was more like natural and organic, where it was like a couple things here. The volume was slowly increasing, and then boom, like they get the solid chunk, and then the pop, right? This one though, it started with a bang. So when you see that, I think it literally, they were like, no, we're gonna trapdoor this like on the shorts. So they like let them dick around. They were like literally thinking that they were gonna be able to get the stock price back down here. And somebody came in and just started slapping the ass and just got the price up. And so what ends up happening then is like once these guys are trapped now they don't have a choice. They can either start covering, which, I don't think they wanted to do, so they let the price run up a little bit. This was just like all options, and they figured at some point we're going to make our stand. And they've been trying to make the stand each day. You can see these long upper wicks getting pushed down. Well, they finally got the thing because eventually the volume ran out. So like all the retail that had bought in during this time is all now basically in, and now we're going to sit there and go push down, push down, push down. That's what their tactic is. That's what the algos do. So, well, yeah, this one's different than the other two run-ups. So I think someone trapped the shorts. That's just my theory right now. That's what it looks like, because the other ones all kind of gradually built up, and then they moved. This one, it was like a boom, like we're just going to shut the door behind you, and now you're in our house of pain. And I'm sure they're annoyed with us anyway, so I like the Gators. Short interest remains for over 40%. Yeah, I think the short interest right now is like 42%. So we're right back there. Do you believe next week we close lower than we did before the run-up? I mean, it could. But I still think that we're going to hit the spring area, and there's not going to be a ton of like we might be here-ish or something like that, but I don't know if we go lower. Matt, are you concerned about the decreasing volume over the last few days? Yeah, it is concerning, because what ends up happening is when this volume dies down, then it's easier for them to bleed out the stock. So, yeah, I would love to see volume pick back up, and I'm hoping maybe over the weekend we can, write some DD, maybe get some new eyes on it, and we can kind of go from there. But, yeah, I don't love the fact that it's decreasing, but I think what's going to happen next week is we're going to get some failure to deliver data, and that can cause an increase in buying again. Apparently, everyone's telling to hit the like button, or smash the like. Checking in. What's up, guys? All right. I'm doing better on the chat. I'm not like at least losing boxes, so I'm doing better today. But I guess we don't have 200 people in here again, so that's fine. We're doing Friday night stuff, so I like doing naked stuff. Not in stocks though. Yeah. All right. Let's see. If you hold the shares, thanks, Schaefer. Appreciate it for the super chat, or whatever it's called. I didn't look at JCSE. Let's take a look. I haven't done research on this company, so I'm just going to be looking at the chart. That's an interesting bar. Is that pushed down? Let me just pull up here we go. So that went down from like 14, hit 23, and then kind of is chopping around. Yeah, I'd have to do some research on this one. I know these things tend to be, it looks like it's brand new. So like, yeah, I'd have to check out the warrant situation and all that stuff for that one. Pair character lifting some weights, saying keep it up. Thanks. Goat's gonna take off his pants. Sorry, stepped away. He discuss decreasing volume? Yeah, like it's concerning. Let me get back over to Aterian. Sorry. But yeah, if you want to remind me, if you're part of the Discord there, all out, or NASCAR All Out, DM me and I'll see if I can take a look at it at some point this weekend. What do you have your spring zone loaded on the chart? Sorry, it's blurry. So yeah, all I'm showing basically is I thought that this was going to be roughly the spring level. So if we go to like this would be, I think it's too big, but basically like this area right here-ish would be about the spring, and then we start moving back up. Maybe it's more like here-ish. So like we might chop around, dip, come back up. But they're going to accumulate probably in this area for the next run. So about a $3 call today for today, and you'll exercise it, and then you'll get them. Oh, good. Did you make money on that NASCAR? Yeah, anyone that got in for the pre-IPO price. There you go. But yeah, we're mainly going to discuss Aterian in here, but John Biggerton. John, you tend to be the kind of bearish one in here. But yeah, no, we are not. The squeeze is not over. And honestly, it's just, I'm looking at this from this perspective. Book value is at like 423 or something like that. Like, so if it's down here, you're buying at book value. So your downside risk is about $2, but your upside, profit that could be is like way, way higher. So to me, that's an asymmetrical bet. That's why you take bets like these, because you have limited downside. 210 was the recent 52 low. And so if you're buying at this range right here, your upside is, tons. So I'm not trying to spend my night watching this stuff. Thought to pop in. Yeah, have a good night. I've been loading $2 calls for May. Lower average today. Yeah, and that's a good idea. And I mean, if you want to also, Matthew, I mean, you can start learning about how to sell, sell puts. If you sell puts, they're bullish, and they will actually make you extra premium too. And if those stocks don't ever go down that level, you just collect the premium. Obviously, you want to get your shares. That's why you're doing $2 calls. But if you do ones that are nearer to the money, you can actually make out pretty well with cash if you don't get assigned. So, but at this point, yeah, if you want to stick with those calls so you can have them, that's great. That will add buying pressure, not right away, but like as we get closer to that date, it will end up some buying pressure. So today's order flow was against us, but it wasn't too bad. Yeah, I think it was like basically like within like 1-2% difference or something like that. So it wasn't too bad. Later Gators, that's pretty good. All right. As far as volume, YouTubers calling it dead. Today was the same volume as April 11th, which was the day before it ran really big. Yeah, so these things are spiking. Like, look, we've got a spike, got a spike, got a spike, got a spike, got a spike. Like, it's spiking. And once the FTDs really hit, we'll start getting more of those big spikes. So I've noticed the cost of borrow has been going up. That's good. Cost of borrow going up is good for us because it makes it more expensive for them to short and hold their positions because it becomes less profitable. We have 109 viewers and 30 likes. Smash the like button. Thank you. Thanks, Keith. And 55 likes, 56. There's a bullish article about earnings today. ATER has a good chance for a balance sheet. Yeah, I did see that they were projected to maybe do okay. We'll see. If we tried posting the bigger stocks like stock options, penny stocks, yeah, it is. I'm with David. I want Anon merch before you hedgies make him go silent like DFD. Yeah. I think that was more because he was a financial professional. They wanted to not make that. I mean, I'm not a financial professional, and I don't have any affiliation with any sort of financial institution. So that's the difference. I know somebody was like, "What hedge fund does this guy work for?" But I don't. It's funny because I do have I do have friends that work for hedge funds. Two of them work for like an oil one. I don't talk to them about this stuff because they actually specialize in commodities. So we don't really have a whole lot of overlap. I mean, they trade their own stocks also, but like they don't do that market side as much as I do. So at times they actually come to me sometimes and they're like, "What's up with this thing?" And I'll give them kind of a rundown. They're like, "All right, let's see." ATER stock needs a daily discussion thread. It would create more about stock comments. Yeah. So the problem, Goat, is this. I saw that Ninja's back, and that's great. Ninja is another moderator. The owner of the sub hasn't been active in a long time, and I don't have the ability to actually change out anything that he has access to. Like he's got full control. Ninja and I only have like partial control of that sub. The problem is also when I was the only mod, people were spreading FUD like mad on Reddit, and I couldn't keep up with it. So I asked if we could remove the stuff. He never responded to me, so I just removed it. I know it creates more like comments and stuff like that on the thread, and that will get us more exposure. But at the same time, when it's like 40% FUD, and I can't get in there to moderate both. I'm moderating the Discord and trying to write up DD, and having another thing to kind of check in on that's not like ideal for me. So maybe you'd know that Ninja's back. If he's going to be able to mod some more, that'd be great. And then we could bring that back. But Matthew White's got 19K. Awesome. Yeah, there's tons of people that have lots and lots of shares. Devil's Advocate, if this doesn't hold on, are we allowed to post on Super Snock? No, it's just GME there. And if you do it, you'll get downvoted to all hell. Trust me, I tried. Not to Super Snock, but to the other one. I think it's like GME Capitalist or one. I just want to see how it would be received there. It was not received well. So let's see. All right, so Devil's Advocate, if this doesn't squeeze, what do you think will have gone wrong? In other words, what do you think the hedge funds will do to stop it? So here's the thing. As long as the short interest is really high, they are playing with fire, because if, for example, they beat on earnings and institutions start buying and they locked up, they sold all the float to us, and now they've got to actually go to the lit market and find these guys' shares, the stock price is going to fly. So, I mean, essentially, as long as retail is kind of holding in there, this is just going to keep going, because I think retail owns the float. I really do, and that's just my opinion. And I don't, I have some math to back it up. The fact that we're trading like 1 billion shares, the fact that like we hit utilization prior to our run up, like all those things are very, very interesting. And yeah, I am a mod of that sub. So if you need that, then you can do that. Get some cash to your future merch off the ground. Thank you. I don't think anyone wants to hear my autobiography. It's not really that interesting. I was in the Marines. I did go to college for like, I think it was like 1.5 years or something like that. And then I joined the Marine Corps after September 11th happened, because I was in college when September 11th happened. And then from there, I did 2 tours in Iraq with the 1st Mardiv, and then I got out and I moved back east, and I worked for a big company, like a Fortune 100 company, for a little bit, and then I worked for a smaller company, and I work for a small company now. But none of them have anything to do with like finance or anything like that. This reminds me of GME, but GME had more attention. Oh yeah, GME had way more attention. But GME at one point was very much overlooked, and we mocked. I remember actually mocking, like in my head, some guys buying GameStop. Like as a fundamental investor, I was like, that's a very bad idea, because obviously everything's going digital now, and you have a physical store with physical items that are no longer needed. And like, how much Pokemon and stuff can you sell to keep yourself in business when most of your stuff was, video games that were, physical. So, I thought he was silly. And then I read his DD, and I wish I had read it earlier and actually like listened to him. So, I mean, yeah, he didn't always have the attention. Yeah, GameStop's a bigger name, but the longer Aterian hangs out at the #1 stock on like Reddit or like some of these things, it's gonna be very interesting to see. You can tell I'm getting tired also, because I'm tired to jabber and I've been drinking. So, all right, let's see what we got here. That's why I call it the $7 rug pull. Yep. Yeah, Jamie didn't have as much attention until the squeeze was imminent. Like, yeah, it picked up steam. I mean, then news articles started doing it. Elon tweeted it out. Like, even what was his name? The guy that owns SoFi. I can't remember his name right now, but yeah, he like bought in for like a day and then like made like, I don't know, like 700,000 on options, and then got out and then said he donated to like a charity or something. Bro, you help a lot more than 99% of this. Bro, you help out a lot more than 99% of everyone else in the group. Yeah, well, thank you. I was going to say, I feel like, there's a certain responsibility, at least, to try to, like, I studied this stuff for a while, and, if I can share people with this stuff with people, and I can help them understand kind of how markets actually work versus, like, there's one thing to read it in a book, but there's another thing to actually, like, know that, like, you're going to get screwed most of the time in the market, and this is how you don't get screwed. And, like, once again, like, I'm not perfect. Like, I timed something really poorly this week, and I'm mad at myself for doing it, and mad at myself for getting my friend involved in it. And, like, I can't take that back right now, but, like, I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that, he's made right, and, by all this. But yeah, you can make mistakes even when you've been doing this for a while. Let's see. To get a lot of attention on ATER, we need a home base, and the Discord's good. Most normies don't use Discord. ATER stock should be the home base if it's not compromised. Yeah, at this point right now, Ninja is not compromised. I've known him for a couple months, and I think that's great that he's back because he brings, a lot of, like, I think he was in college. I don't know if he's still in college, but I know he was in college, and he was, going to look up the Bloomberg for us. And I heard this whale actually has a Bloomberg. And I don't know if it's at his house or what it is, but he said he's got access to a Bloomberg. So I'm going to try to hit him up and try to find out what I can see on that stuff. And I think there was a kid that's in college that isn't part of ATER stock, and he sent me a link saying that I guess they found some, like, one of the largest institutional shareholders is, like, registered out of Israel and stuff like that. And Yana's from Israel, so that would make sense. But we're going to start digging into that too over the weekend and see what that is. Let's see. How to grow the Gator Army. And yeah. I think, personally, I think one of the things that's interesting about it is this guy, the CEO, spoke out about naked shorting, and as soon as that happened, they got buried. Like, is that a coincidence? Maybe. Like, maybe not. So there's a bit of a human element to this where it's like, I don't think anyone roots for people to, like, fail, especially, like, businesses or, like, unless they're, like, bad people. Like, when good people are just trying to do right by their families and, like, they're creating something, like, at least there's some value in that to me. I may not love every single product that they make, but at the same time, I respect the fact that they make products for other people to better their lives. And when you're a short hedge fund, yeah, you're supposed to weed out corruption and things that are overpriced. And at one point, Aterian was. But once they shorted under, like, current asset values, that's when I was like, F these guys. These guys are just greedy. Like, you shorted under current assets. Like, come on. Let's see. Would Gators be Navy? I was a Marine, so I don't know. In my opinion, this is still the best play. Yeah, I mean, at this point right now, nothing is close. We're still number 1 or 2 on this Fintel squeeze store, and, like, we're pretty high up on the gamma. So, like, this is still the play to me. Did we have a setback this week? Sure, but at the same time, it's just on low volume. So, I mean, when the volume picks back up during the next cycle of something, they'll have to move the price up. So. This is the one true valid squeeze play of the year. Yeah, I mean, it's going to take a while, is my guess. The FTD data will get released at the end of the month, which would be probably, like, Wednesday or Thursday of next week? Something like that. Yeah, somewhere around this time frame. Yeah, Mullen was an interesting one. We bought in on like 50 cents or 60 cents, and then we made profit, and I took my profit at 193. I know it went higher than that, but I was good with a 300% gain, so on that one at least. All right, someone wanted to know the Ortex data. Let me see if I can pull that up real quick. Unless somebody else did. Let me scroll down to make sure I'm not doing this again for some, because it probably won't change in the after hours during this time, but. Oh, it's 12:30. That's why I'm tired. Like, why the hell am I so tired? I started the stream late. That's why. All right, let me just type in ATER, and then we'll get some of these questions out of the way, and we'll speed up it a little bit because I'm getting tired. I go to bed. I got yard work to do tomorrow. Cost to borrow right now looks like it's around 101 for the current. And I can check that against Fintel. Give me a second. And I still need to actually go through the numbers today for Fintel, so I should do that. Let me pull that up real quick. All right. So the Fintel numbers for Aterian are. All right, let's take a look real quick. Okay, here we go. Oh, we dropped to number 2. That's fine. I mean, we're still a very high score. There just must be something that's more eminent. But we're number 2 on the gamma squeeze, so that's good. We moved up. We were at 40 or something like that, or maybe even lower. They returned some, it looks like, but they're still holding on to a lot of these. And it looks like for this one, it's saying that the start was 86, max was 124, and the Ortex is saying 101 is right now the current. So we'll take that with a grain of salt, but somewhere between that 80 and 100. Gave up on BBIG. Yeah, I'm going to be honest with you. I think BBIG has been raising money through warrants. So they pump it on those warrants and trying to get people. I'm going to have to do a full segment on how the stock market really works as far as the small caps, because a lot of small caps, what they do is these underwriters and these other people they'll push the stock price up to get their money out, and then they'll dump their shares, and that's what these BBIGs, progs, stuff like that. Though they typically will go through that, and it's not good because retail doesn't understand it. So they short, they think they're going after short interest, and really what's happening is active dilution. And there's just a whole bunch of problems that occur with when retail doesn't fully understand the big small cap picture. I know it's oxymoron, but the larger small cap picture that I don't want to talk bad about them. They could be a fine company down the line. They've raised a lot of cash, but at the same time, it was never a play that I thought that was anything but a long term shot in the dark. Cost of borrow and iBorrow is 125, and that would fit in with the Fintel max. So Mullen's gonna fly that blimp on Sunday at the race. Yeah, okay. Let's see. Selling puts out of the money. Yeah, it's one way of doing it. Let's see. I'm wondering something. Is there FUD you've encountered that's legit? In other words, FUD with good DD? It's not, so far, no. I've been writing this stuff for months, and so far no one's actually been yeah, you're not right. And I looked at it and I was no, I'm not right. Literally, no one argues with me if I'm actually the stuff makes sense. They just go, well, I don't think it's going to work. I'm okay, well, that's great. Do you have anything that can disprove my thesis? And they're no, but it's not going to happen. I'm okay, well, that's an opinion, but so far no one's actually put out anything that I can legitimately go, yeah, that's a very and I'm pretty pragmatic. Like, I'll read it and I'll be like, yeah, they actually have a point there. But like, so far, like, the most of the people that are coming after Aterian are just going over the like fundamentals of the company and not so much the actual, like, they've sold too many shares. Like, I think it's pretty evident since they have a billion volume now since March 8th that they did something shady. Something's not right here. You don't trade a billion shares when all of a sudden our volume prior to this whole area. Let me move this. Shoot. No, I'm not sure what's going on. There we go. Can I grab that? Now I gotta move it somewhere. Sorry. I want to have it right around. It's here. All right. If I can go back. Yeah, like, so far yeah. Let's see. Sorry, I like lost my train of thought. I should probably get going soon, but been following you and the other just on the Discord. Can't thank you. Yeah, thanks. I mean, appreciate it. So if the shorts can't use synthetic shares to buy, buyers are just wait. So shorts couldn't just use synthetic shares to sell to buyers if earnings are bullish. No, they're already doing that right now. I mean, like, you can tell that's what they're doing. Like, we ran out. This is where things got like. Here, so I'm just trying to move this down. All right, whatever. Yeah, I gotta go to bed. I don't even remember what I'm talking about now. Let me go back. Yeah, okay, synthetic shares. All right. Let me focus up. Let me drink this drink real quick. Scotchy, scotch down in my belly. All right. So my guess is what they went on Reg Show. I think we counted back, right? We went 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then 5 days prior. So if they went on the 14th was their first day of Reg Show, that means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is when they got in trouble because they had 5% of the float, like, not failing to deliver. Which means that this is when they went 100% utilization, and this whole run right here, when they actually had these first couple days of like high volume, they already went over the 5%. So like, they've been selling synthetic shares since then, like, definitely, if not prior to that. So, yeah, it doesn't matter. Eventually, those synthetic shares end up in people's accounts, and then at some point, if they have to go buy them, that's when the stock price will fly up. So, a lot of holders held during that big run up and all the way down. Yeah, they did. A lot of people joined after September 11th. Thank you, appreciate it. Thanks for my service. Thank you. Craziest thing about today was watching the options play out. Yeah, I mean, they bought 20,000 puts in the money. Yeah, I mean, like, it at like, yeah, 3 cents. Yeah, it was pretty crazy. Normally those should have been like at least 12 cents or something like that, and they made those super cheap for somebody, and that's something. User Ninja threat is active on Reddit. We do not contact them or discuss. Yeah. Ninja's back. That's what I was saying. Like, I think I even wrote, I'm glad you're back, because he had been gone for a while. Why are people obsessing over GME and AMC? So a lot of people don't think that the short's ever fully covered. And there's probably some credibility to that. And I think what's happened is there's some some amount of fuckery that's happened on both of those stocks that but here's the thing. Those stocks are highly manipulated because they have so many, different funds that are holding them. It seems like the entire system would have to go down for those to MOAS. That's what I would say. And I don't think anybody in the system wants that, so they're going to find any which way to actually make sure that never happens. So truthful, no FUD. Yeah, I mean, at this point right now, like, I haven't met anyone that actually has been like, I've got a counter thesis to yours, and it's not Shamath. Yeah, that's his name, Shamath. He's the guy from SoFi. Yeah, I must be really behind because that's been a while. Compare GameStop's to ATER. So GameStop had a more recognizable, and there was also the nostalgia factor. So ATER doesn't have that loyalty at this point, so that's still building. So at this point right now, I mean, and here's the other thing I would tell you. Like, hypothetically, what if I'm completely wrong, but this is a stock that has a 26 million float, and there's a lot of people that are buying this. And so even if I was completely wrong, retail would buy this float up within like a couple weeks. So like, and then it still would also have the same issues that you have with liquidity. Like, but here's when the stock price is low like this is when things can be really, really interesting, because GameStop, when they're 180 a share or 150 a share, it's harder for retail to buy that. Aterian right now is sitting at book value. Like, our book value is like 423. Like, it's a very low risk. Like, this is where all these companies were before they squeezed, and now they're much higher. And if they squeeze and go a lot higher, they also can raise money, which makes them more valuable, so their book value goes up. It's just, there's a lot of good things that can happen from this. So, but yeah, like, GameStop right now, until they do the stock split and then all this kind of goes down, it's just going to be what it is. ATER still cheap. Yep, it is. Thanks for my service. Thanks, guys, for thanking me. ATER is 7. I will sell ATER at 7. Graduate college. Yeah, you do whatever you want there, Anton. You trade how you want. Let's see. Max Payne for the 20th. I didn't look it up recently. Let's see if it's changed at all. All right. We'll look it up real quick. Max Payne is $5 for that strike. Or sorry, for that. Is it? Yeah, it's still $5. It's $5 from May 20th. Let's see. You guys are giving him a hard time. I don't know about earnings, to be honest, G-Man. It's hard to tell. We can look up historical records at some point this weekend, but I'm just hoping their costs of shipping went down, because that's one of the things that's eating them alive. I know they raised some cash. Would like to see the balance sheet after the quarter's released and all that stuff. What's up, Gator fam? What's up, Gatorade? Thank you, Shameful. Scotchy, scotch. First day of Reg Show is the 12th. Was that what I came back with? Yeah, it's like something like that, right? 12th. Yeah, that's about what I got. Is that Ace on here? Ace is back. I'm still trying to understand what you guys said there, but $10 next week. All right. Is ATER on the threshold? Yeah, ATER's on the threshold. I thought they were partnering with Amazon. They did. They partnered with Amazon. They have a deal worked out where they capped out some of their container costs, and also I think they got like access to certain ships and stuff like that. But so it's lowered the price, or sorry, it's lowered the cost slightly, but it's still high because it's up tremendously from where it was before. So. All right. I need to go to bed. So you guys should go to bed too, or go party or do something fun. But I'm getting old and I need to go to bed because it's now like 12:45. And all right, so let's do this. I will go ahead and I'll be on sporadically over the weekend. I need to fill in obviously a bunch of stuff, but I did want to see one thing, and this will be the last things that I'm going to go over. I wanted to see this. I wanted to see. Interesting. Very, very interesting. So it is possible that there is a long selling just based off of the short aggregate ratio. I mean that is a possibility. Just based off this and the amount of sell pressure we've gotten, that's starting to look like somebody might actually have been exiting a position, and that's fine. Like honestly, if they don't want to be in, I know tons of retail that will be fine with that. But that's probably how they. And sometimes I'm not gonna be on. I'll be honest with you. So if you guys have ever watched Billions, did you ever watch the episode where Axelrod gets squeezed? He ends up having to go to one of his enemies and ask for their shares, and that actually happens probably more than you think. So I'll put it to you this way: they could have easily approached a long and said, "Hey, listen, we're a big fund. We'll scratch your back if you would give us this solid." They needed to keep the price down. So what if they went to a long and they said, "Hey, listen, we need your shares. Just need you to exit them, and then we can reset some of these FTDs and some of this, or at least have some ammo on hand to lower the price." So that may have happened just based off the short aggregate volume. Looking at that, yeah, I mean, I can't say it's out of the realm of possibility, but I also know that when you trade that many shares, like 1 billion shares, that there's a ton of stuff that's going on behind the scenes. So somebody may have exited, but at the same time, we'll see either that or they are doing a really good job suppressing some of the data, because these seem low, like 68. All right. So that I wanted to take a look at that. I've got to update the spreadsheet for that. Yeah, I hope you retired soon. Yeah, I'm not retirement age, but I'll do this and hang out with you guys someday if I can get enough income where I can switch over. But yeah, everyone get some good sleep, and then we'll go over this stuff, and maybe I'll figure out if you guys come up with good ideas for the Discord. To how do we talk to more people about this stock? How do we get more eyes on this stock? Because I think that's the one thing we're missing volume. Like a lot of these people are already in, that are hanging out with us. So how do we at least share this with people and let them at least make an educated decision? So think about that. I'll see you guys around the Discord. I'm doing some yard work tomorrow, so I won't be around during the day, but I'll be there probably in the evening. So thanks for coming and hanging out with me. Thanks to the people that gave a tip, and we'll go ahead and I'll do my nightly thing where I usually link our Discord group, which is all right. Let's see. Where's this? cool. Yeah, normally we just don't do Discord. I didn't either. Like, it took me a long time to actually get Discord and then do it, but I see the value now. All right, so there's our Discord. If any normal people are like, I don't know what that is, it is pretty fun. I'm going to be honest with you. Even people that aren't like super technologically savvy are able to get in there, and it's pretty fun. You can do like GIFs, but we share charts on there, and we're able to like go over filings together, and there's some like use to it. There's also like a voice feature, and there's some things that we can make pretty cool. So. All right, so we looked that up, and then if you guys have any interest in, making me a full-time streamer so I can hang out with you guys all day long and talk stocks and stuff like that, I do have a Patreon that, we made, and someday hopefully we'll be able to hang out together all day long. So, but I do need to get enough where my wife said I can't take a pay cut, so. But yeah, no one's obviously obligated. It's just if you enjoy some of the stuff I'm doing, and you want to help support that, that'll be the next step. But thanks, guys, and I'll see you guys around this weekend, and then maybe we'll figure out something on like Sunday, and we'll plan something out. All right, good night.